All right, everyone, we really need to talk about Great Uncle Joe because he's not doing so well. He did it again, and this is like, since this month began, what, the fifth or sixth major gaffe, moment of severe confusion from Joe Biden. If Trump were acting the way that Biden acts, people's claim that he has mental difficulties would actually make sense. They've been claiming that for years anyway, based on his manner of speaking, which he's been doing since the 90s. It's just sort of his boardroom TV host style way of things. It's not evidence of cognitive decline because we can look back and we can compare it to Trump 10 years ago and it looks exactly the same. With Biden, we can look back 10 years and say it's not the same. It's not even remotely similar. The way in which Joe Biden acts at this point is nothing like how he was, even like late in Obama's second term, like, a year or so before he left office in the mid-2010s. It's not that long ago. Biden could remember where he was. He could remember what he was doing. He knew what year it was. He didn't devolve into age-old stories on a constant basis. And he didn't do this sort of thing. Link in the description. This is to RNC Research, although they're not the original uploaders. It's just a convenient handle to post here. Biden gets up on stage in front of an audience that was probably 10 people. And makes like weird remarks. He's like, he literally didn't know where he was. He started to announce that he was at a place that I guess he worked at decades prior. And then he tried to cover it up and say it was a joke and did like the creepy smile thing. I know that smile. That's the Alzheimer's smile. That's the I don't quite know what the fuck is going on at the moment, but I'm not that nervous about it. That smile. I've seen it before in person, unfortunately. You might have too. Joe Biden has Alzheimer's disease. Let's just come out and fucking admit it. If the Democrats are really crazy enough to allow him to be their candidate, I think they will lose the election. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to ruin Joe Biden's legacy. I think it's going to ruin their chances of recouping like the leadership of the party that made the decision are going to get so much flack from the left, it'll just embolden them more. That's the worst part is if they go forth with Biden, especially if he really is crazy enough to choose Kamala Harris as his running mate, that is not going to go over well. Oh, the overzealous former prosecutor, that'll get the Bernie fans on board. No, they're essentially saying, hey, leftists, vote for us because there's a female with a darker skin color than yours running as VP and wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We know that Biden's basically out to lunch, so she'll be handling things. Don't worry. She's not even a leftist. She's like an Elizabeth Warren. She's pretending to be on the left. By the way, when I say kooky Kamala or something, I'm talking about her stated positions, not the positions I actually expect her to pursue. I expect her to be a tough on guns, overzealous prison lover. I expect her to expand authoritarianism and jail more people for slave labor. I expect her to be a vapid hypocrite. I expect her to be a complete loser diplomatically on the world stage who will sell our country down the river, but I don't expect her to start lauding Karl Marx and putting Lenin statues in the White House, putting it that way. It's basically a tip-off to the far left to say, well, we're not going to give you any of the things that you actually are voting for, but we will give you this wedge issue on race and gender. We'll cuck before you on the least meaningful things that you would like to see. Kamala, I think, would be a disaster. I think Biden's a disaster. He does this every time he speaks. Even a year ago, he's first starting to think about maybe the primary, maybe I'll enter, maybe I won't, stuff. Even back then, or back in spring or something, he didn't sound this bad. He's getting worse at a fairly considerable clip. By the way, I can't remember where I saw this, but I've seen it claimed that when people who are higher functioning mentally get dementia, it advances quicker. Whereas if a person is sort of, not quite as intelligent, I mean in the academic IQ related sense, that it advances more slowly, but they're more likely to get it earlier. Biden is a high functioning dude. He's academically trained. If you look back at him when he was like in Congress or even like VP, he's not an unintelligent dude. He's gaffe prone. He says weird things sometimes, and he sort of comes off as a Bushite chucklehead, but he's not dumb. Hell, he's smart enough to have been elected over and over again despite being a total turd for 50 years. I would think that requires some degree of intelligence. He's a rich, politically connected, powerful dude. He's got Alzheimer's disease. Again, watch this a couple times. Let it really sink in. He doesn't even know where he is in this clip. He's not aware of his current location. He thinks that he's somewhere else. He's having a flashback to like the 80s or the 60s or something. I can't even remember exactly where he thought he was, and he's like, oh no, I'm actually not. That's where I worked before. That was a joke. Come on, dude. The dude's good. He's not playing with a full deck. And I would ask Democrats this as well, like partisan Democrats. Do you want to put the Democratic Party in a position where your virulence against Trump is so vicious at this point? Your hatred of Trump, your disdain of everything orange, Trump-Z or something, is so advanced that you'd like to have an elderly, dementia-addled individual as the candidate who will probably resign or die in office due to advanced age and cognitive decline issues, leaving behind an unelected first female president who will probably lose her re-election bid no matter who the Republican is because she won't technically be an incumbent at all. She came in way behind in the primaries. Democrats, by and large, do not like Kamala Harris. And that's the speculation, is that he's probably choosing her based on a review of the notes that he was holding in some meeting the other day. We're not sure of that, but it's possible. There are other possibilities, but it doesn't matter. Elizabeth Warren, Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, Susan Rice, you take your pick, Stacey Abrams, Oprah Winfrey, fucking Michelle Obama. They won't have been elected. They'll have been appointed to that position because they were his running mate. And I think that's concerning for a lot of people. There's a reason why only a slight majority of Democrats even think that Biden's capable of debating Trump. Not even capable of just winning, but just debating him in the first place. The Biden campaign right now is probably hoping beyond hope that all of the venues cancel and they could say, well, we can't have the debates. There's no way to have them anymore. It's too late. They really don't want him to go up against Trump on a debate stage, especially a live one. I still think that they're going to at least push for a digital-only format. Notre Dame canceled as the first venue for the first debate, which isn't, that far off. It's like, 6 weeks or something like that. If the other venues start to say, well, we can't host it either, they're really afraid? They're afraid of rioters, and they're afraid of a coronavirus spike or something like that, something stupid. They'll use coronavirus as the excuse, though. And Biden will sit there, and he'll meander, and he won't know what he's doing. If Biden has a moment on a live debate stage where he thinks he's in Tuscaloosa when he's actually in Phoenix or something, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem if he starts telling some boring, meandering story about something that happened in the 50s that you can't even believe, like his dad seeing two gay men kissing back in the 1950s openly on the street and said, hey, Joe, it's okay. If he starts doing that weird shit while Trump is there, Trump is going to fucking crucify him. I don't know why the Democrats are even doing this. You should kick Biden aside. You probably should just say, fuck it. Fuck the party. We're going to have Bernie Sanders, who's never even been literally a Democrat. We're just going to give it to him. Appease the far left. Yeah, he'll lose. Yeah, we'll make a mockery of ourselves. At least he's not demented. That's what they should do. And keep in mind, Biden was one of the more electable on the field. A man pushing 80 with dementia, tough on crimer a la the 80s and 90s, was one of the better candidates. I still think that Buttigieg was the only one there that's really had any finesse at all. And of course, Gillibrand, who very early petered out. She never gained any traction. Buttigieg did. He won Iowa. He almost won New Hampshire out from under Bernie Sanders. He was neck and neck with Bernie, and then, of course, everyone else collapses in South Carolina, paving the way for riding with Biden. Yeah, I don't think you want to ride with Biden. If he were driving the car, I'd be very, very concerned about it going off the road. And not leastwise because, he's not Hillary Clinton. That's about all. Peace out.